talking me?
For the next topic we have, it looks like Apple continues to own the market in video games. It seems that they've made hand over fist
8 billion.
8 billion just in 2019. In 2020, they made $45 billion in game sales or whatever, just off of third party shit. They ain't even making nothing. It's the shit you made and asked to put it on Apple Arcade. They raking in the dough
8 billion
from that, dude. That's crazy.
And that's 2 years old.
Yeah.
It's even probably more. But
Like I said, in 2020 it was 45 billion.
And keep
my
in mind,
Lord.
in 2019,
Good.
That's nuts, dude.
my
That's
gosh.
a jump from 2019 to 8 billion. Epidemic hits, boom.
Jeez.
hey, but keep in mind,
45.
these figures in 2019, that 8.5 billion is more than Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and Activision combined.
Yeah.
So
of
that
their operating profits from all those. And that's
Does
not
that
just
make
like
you
the
mad?
game country. That's Activision too. Like they're putting in like
Call of Duty,
the biggest developers
wow.
on the
Yeah.
planet in one pot.
Yeah, dude, that kind of
And
makes
what's
me
crazy
mad.
is-
In what way does
Some
it
of
make?
those
What do you
developers
mean?
are on there.
Because I just feel like they're making so much money, and I don't feel like they're contributing to gaming like these
Totally,
other
bro.
other places are doing
Totally.
new hardware,
I have that on my
new
notes.
They're just
infrastructure.
piggybacking off.
They're
of
just
the,
like, we have a
craze,
platform
right?
that everybody's on. All right, we get our cut. That rubs me the wrong way. They're like the troll under the bridge.
Yeah.
Like I don't like that.
I wonder why they decided to go the route with making like Apple TV, where they're funding like new shows and scripts and things like that to be on that platform that's literally catered by by Apple, but they haven't started their own game company. There's just a bunch of people who have made their games and then make them all available on Apple Arcade, and they rake in tons of money.
Yeah.
Like you're just saying, hey, bring all your shit over here to me. I'll give it to like everybody, and we could get this money together.
Yeah.
Dude, this is
They
what
don't do nothing.
boggles. It boggles my mind, dude. I mean, just blows me away. Apple makes this much money on games. And I agree. I feel like they contribute nothing
Yeah.
to like game development,
Mm-hmm.
moving the medium forward like
Yeah.
Sony does. And even, not to the same extent, but to a lesser extent Microsoft does.
Even Nintendo.
And Nintendo
Yeah.
definitely does. And what's funny is like there's never any buzz ever. Take our show for instance. All of our news that we ever report on, all the news anyone talks about gaming wise is always centered on console gaming or like PC, right? All of it. There's never any news that we care about on Apple iOS games.
Well, I mean, we talked about Pokemon Unite, but it's very.
That's
it's
a Switch
very
game,
small.
though. That started
Right.
off on Switch. That's more of a Switch game.
Right.
Yeah, you
know,
can
and-
play it on your phone, but that was developed by Nintendo for like the Switch, right? One of Nintendo's
Tencent,
studios.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tencent.
Tencent. Yeah, they got like license from Nintendo or whatever.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, never.
Yeah,
We're
dude.
never like, hey, we have a new game that we just played this week on the Apple iOS that we're going to report on.
Yeah.
Hey, did you catch that review for that Apple? No, we never
Yeah.
talk about iOS.
No,
They
we don't.
contribute absolutely nothing. There's like, it's just the craziest thing to me. Why isn't there more popular culture, Apple or iOS, whatever, phone mobile games in our culture? There's no pop culture centralness around that at all in the video games. You think video games, you think PlayStation. You
Yeah.
think Xbox. You think Nintendo. You do not think Apple iOS. And
Yeah,
yet
when
they
you
make
look at
All the
8
money.
times as much.
cell phone games, they're more so like niches. They're all like
But
gotchas.
why?
They're all
If
they're
that's
all
where all
gotchas.
the money's at,
pretty
why?
much.
If that's where all the money's at,
Yeah, I think like they're the doom of gaming because if all these gotcha games, which some gotcha games are good, I hate them. I hate paying for all these nickel and diming stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like as people see all these gleaming profits, This is what people are
Yeah.
gonna put their efforts in.
I mean, we're already headed that way, guys.
Dude, I was
Like,
gonna
you're looking
mention
at
that.
Fortnite and all of these, constant upgrade services that EA is going to, and all this other stuff. Like, we're already headed in that direction.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'll say. The only thing I was thinking about
All
that
of the
too.
microtransactions.
I was
and
like,
stuff.
does this mean that we're doomed, like in the future, to just always have little mobile games? Because that's just where all the money's at. But there's still going to be, I think there's always going to be a market for like console big budget games. Like even if it's a smaller market, there's still money to be made. And so as long as there's money to be made, even in a smaller market, there you'll always find people there. Like, with anything, cutting grass isn't as great a market as like maybe solar panels. But that doesn't mean everyone who cuts grass is not going to all of a sudden start installing solar panels because that's where all the money's at. No, there's still a market for it. Like there's still a market for it. It may not be as big as other markets, but as long as there's some money to be made, this is me trying to salvage that fear, right? Like I think that there will always be a market for like these big budget games. They'll never make as much as like these mobile games, but there's still a lot of money to be made there. And so because of that, someone will still do it. Like, I might as well. I may not be able to break into that market, but I'm good at this, so I'm gonna go ahead and make games here. This is how I know how to make games. Right?
And I mean, if you look at the complexity of the majority of like cell phone, like mobile games compared to a console game, it's a lot less involved with a mobile game. I mean, there are some that like require a lot,
Exactly.
but there's
No, you're
the
100%
majority
right.
of them require a lot less. So it's like I can piece together this shit real quick
Exactly.
and drop this off on here and make like 30 grand.
Well, not just that, it's much easier for the individual to understand the game too.
Yeah. to
Like
wrap your head around.
this is like it really fascinated me as I was like looking at this article that Mark sent. Like you got me rolling, man. Like, dude, man, this is like so nuts to me. Like I feel like I can write a doctorate dissertation on this. Like if I was in like game theory, that was my profession. Because it's like, if you listen to Sean Layden, he said that in order for Sony to feel like they had a successful game, they need 20 million in sales. 20 million sales of that game for it to be successful. Like, that's crazy.
That's a lot.
And do you remember when we reported before when Sean Layden said that the number of console gamers has not changed since the 90s? Remember that? Or maybe it was just Marcus and I who reported on that. When he was saying that the number of gamers,
Console users,
users hasn't, it's been static for like the last 3 decades. It hasn't gone up. It stayed exactly the same.
You just lost people, but you gained people.
Yeah,
so
but it just stays static.
maintains, Yeah.
And I think the reason why that is, and why mobile gaming is absolutely taking off, going through the clouds, is because this may sound funny to us, but I do think console gaming is too hard. I think it's too hard. I think
Because it's
console
not
gaming
convenient
is
enough?
Too hard. No, it's just too hard. Not just to develop for, but to play. In my personal opinion, I think it's too hard to play. So recently, and I'm going to use this as an example, I got my sister a PS5, right? And I was trying to think, what game can I get her? She's played Halo, so she knows how to like use the sticks and look.
Destiny and all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
she's played Halo and Destiny. But I was like, but what game can I get her, that's accessible, that I think that she can actually play? And so I got a Ratchet and Clank, right? To us, that's
a
like
good one.
baby cakes, man. That's like easy gamer, man. This is like fun, just easy.
Mm-hmm.
My sister could not wrap her mind around it. She couldn't. She could not wrap her mind around her bearings were just off. Just even the tiny open worlds, because there was like little tiny open worlds in Ratchet. You got like little tiny. She couldn't get her bearings. Like she couldn't figure out where to go. She wasn't making the connection of 2 and 2 with the like little compass marker on your map to follow. She didn't know. Like she couldn't make any connection with that. She didn't understand. But like you and I, that's all. I use the word intrinsic. Like it's just as natural to us as the sky is blue outside to us. Like we just know it naturally.
Right.
And so I was like, the more and more that these game developers cater to, because we started, you and I, with the D-pad and 2 buttons. So we were all there once where we had no knowledge. We were just learning.
Mm-hmm.
But then what did they do? To keep us engaged, they have to add a button, right? And so
More
now the
inputs.
Sega comes out and you have 3 buttons. And then
You want to make it
you
more
add another
intricate,
button,
you got to
made it
figure
more
out how you do
intricate.
that. Yeah.
And so you keep adding these intrinsic values that become, these things become intrinsic. Over time, they become normal and natural. But they aren't normal and natural to anyone else who's just jumping in.
Yeah.
And so the entry point's impossible.
Yeah, I remember when we first. I think the first stick was like what, the Nintendo, the
I
Super
think it was an
Nintendo or
N64.
something, or the
The
N64.
N64 was the first,
It
and it
just
was a
had
single
one,
Yeah.
joystick.
right?
And that's what they did. They introduced one, and then you introduced two, and you just slowly get more and more intricate.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what can I call this? I was trying to coin a term, like a new gaming term, and like my first thought was like, I think it's like for us, I would call it a gamer's intrinsic harmony, right? Like we have an intrinsic harmony where like when we grab a game, it's intrinsic to us and it's harmonious, right? Like I know that up there is my health bar. I know that up there is my power bar. I know that diamond in the distance is my compass marker to go to. I know that, when I press this button, my bag will open. It's just absolutely intrinsic and it's actually harmonious. It all works cohesively together. And someone like my sister, she would have a non-gamer intrinsic dissonance, right? Where she's like, because she's a non-gamer, it's disharmonious. Her intrinsic nature, what is real, is in completely disharmony with a gamer's intrinsic harmony, like we have. And so I'm thinking to myself, the more and more this gap becomes, the harder and harder it's going to be, kind of like going back to your point, for game developers to make money in this medium that we all love and enjoy, because the people they can't enter. It's too hard to enter. Or if you go to your phone, you just play Candy Crush, you just swipe on your finger, that's the only button there is, and you're playing video games.
Yeah.
And there's no way to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
But I think at
always,
the same time, VR might come in to play on that.
That might help, you think?
Yeah, to
Yeah.
cover that gap.
I always
Maybe.
thought that about the mouse and keyboard. Like if I show, like, let's say a relative, 16-year-old who's just used to a controller, like, let's play a game on a computer. He's like, or she's like, what the heck is this?
Exactly.
And it's just so
WSD and all
unnatural.
that.
It is.
But
To
when
you,
we
it's
were
natural,
kids,
though.
there's a mouse and keyboard and a controller. Those are the two games to play. But now this is the game to play,
Mhm.
and then maybe the secondary is a controller. A mouse and keyboard is like, what the heck? And I don't see as many young people playing mouse and keyboards.
Mm-mm.
Everyone is just playing the phone.
Yep.
Like that's the way to
Mhm.
play. So yeah, I think a lot of things you're saying are 100% correct, and I do see that.
It's
but
scary.
it's scary because I'm like, is this gonna be our demise?
For us, like us.
Because like in the MMO space, people don't make MMOs that much anymore because they're really hard to create, and they don't make that much money anymore compared to other games like free to play games that are just, So making the money is always a reason to create it in the first
Mhm.
place.
Mhm.
So if this is how you make the money, man, that sucks. And especially because we only have two things, ecosystems, Android and Apple.
Yep.
So
And also, like, our intrinsic harmony that we have as gamers translates to the phone, right? So, like, when we pick up our phone and play a game, it still makes sense to us. And it also makes sense to the non-gamer, right, who has, dissonance. They can get it too because it has an easy barrier of entry. And so this right here, man, is just like they're going to destroy traditional gaming. That's my fear. I know I made the case that I hope there's always a market for it.
yeah,
But when you have to make 20 million in sales to be successful, and you have a dwindling consumer base because it's so hard to enter your medium.
You're gonna want to make it available anywhere and everywhere.
Exactly.
And so you're gonna have, those shit versions on the Switch. That's why a lot of these third party games, damn
And the
well
phone
that
version.
game ain't gonna be able to play on this fucking Switch. Why do you even have it on there? Shit, people got it.
We need
they
20
got the
million in
console, so I'm
sales
trying
to
to get
make
more
money.
sales.
Yeah.
one crazy thing to go
I'll
back to.
spend the $10K to port it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
going back to WoW, for example. WoW, I remember that day that it launched. You could go to Fry's and there's the developers signing the
Mhm.
games. On launch, WoW sold 240,000 copies. And up until that point, that was the most successful PC game sales day one of all time. 240. Now, if you're a game developer now and you have to get 240 sales,
You
you're
ain't
probably
ever
getting
making
fired.
another one.
Like that's a
That's
failure.
nothing,
An
dude.
astronomical
Your
failure,
game
right?
failed.
Yeah.
But let's go
Astronomical
back to
failure.
2004.
Well, would.
Sony's firing you.
2004, that was
Right.
that was,
$250,000. Wow.
But now it's like, dude,
we're
that's
rich.
It's kind of hard to keep up at.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to
and
hold
as
those
the
standards,
gap and
dude.
gap continues to grow, we move along with it because we're
Yeah.
in it, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like everyone else just gets left further and further behind,
Yeah, dude.
and we don't see Last of Us anymore. We don't see Death Loops anymore.
Yeah.
There's no way my sister could play Deathloop. But when I played, I think that's a little easy because my
Yeah.
intrinsic harmony works. So I play that and it's like, this is so well developed. This is so perfect, right? This is great.
Yeah.
But my sister would give it an F. Like she
Yeah.
could not. There's no way. I'd have to sit and like train my sister and like coach her for like hours to get her to play something like that.
Yeah, but really that just means that Els needs to step her game up, right? Like
Hey,
she's
she was
been
really good
slacking
at
on
Destiny
the
and
court.
stuff.
She
I
was good
mean,
at Destiny, but
doing
part of Destiny
raids.
was she had all of us with her,
Oh, okay.
and we would like tell her where to go.
That makes
we would
sense.
Talk to
We were
her.
grouped up.
We were grouped up. But her playing by herself like a single player game, she's like, man, dude, she'd be stuck on a level for hours. And I'm like, that's not fun.
Yeah.
That doesn't make you want to keep playing, right? Like this is more of a chore than fun now.
Els, you've gone soft. Get back in there.
Yeah.
Put in the work.
But
Yeah.
dude.
Put in the work.
Grind.
Get
Get
good.
good. Get good.
Get
For
good.
sure.
Yeah,
All right, so
I love you, me.